this morning. It's the Saturday morning bedhead report, but unlike what I usually do, I did. Oh, let me just make sure we're working. Everything's working. Let me just make sure I'm live in both places. Yes. Okay. So Saturday morning bedhead report, but I did go through the effort this morning to actually shower and fix my hair. So the bedhead report is a little bit different than it usually is. Um, I got some stuff today to cover. I'm going to sort of bounce this morning. We're live today. I'm going to pull up the if I can, just bear with me for a moment. I'm going to pull up the live here on Substack so I can see who's here. There we go. And we're live on YouTube as well. So I hope everybody's well. So this morning, I don't even know where to start. What I want to cover today, what I hope to cover this morning, is it. Oh, you know what, guys? I forgot to bring TikTok in. Hang on, let's bring those folks in as well. Saturday morning is for TikTok as well, as long as but I have to bring TikTok in separately. So let me just open up that and we'll get this working. Just bear with me for a couple of moments. Hang on, we're almost there, guys. Hey, Miss Petty Ann, how are you? I'm just bringing TikTok into the chat. Hang on one second. Okay, let me just get TikTok back in. All right, so TikTok is here. So good morning, Patty Ann. Oh, Patty Ann, I still have to. I'm glad you were the first one on here because I'm reminded. Just seeing you on here reminds me that I need to reach out to you. I wrote a note for myself and forgot to look at the note that we want to have that for that wellness live. I want to reach out, so I'm reminding myself again to do that. Anyway, guys, so this morning we've got TikTok with us, we've got YouTube with us, and we've got Substack with us. Good morning, Beth. Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, folks. Over on, let me bring the TikTok feed right here so I can see it, because TikTok gets very indignant if you don't continually respond to the feed. So this morning, Patty Ann, you messaged me on TikTok. Thank you for that. You know what? I'm so rarely on TikTok, and I must never look at my DMs on there ever. So I apologize for that. I need to get better. I need to pay more attention. And you folks on TikTok too, my apologies for not being around. I need to pay some more attention to the TikTok space. It's just been hard to work in that world. All right. So I caught this morning, and this morning I caught on Substack. I caught Waj Ali was doing a live, a 12:30 a.m. live, and I like to follow Waj. I like to see what he's talking about. I think Waj, he's a online pro-democracy influencer that I like. I respect his work, and I like to see what he does. And Waj has been around for a very long time. He used to be a CNN contributor, an MSNBC contributor. Before it was MS Now, he was contributor consistently with Katie Fang. They used to not work together, but they were kind of on the platform, on the network together. He worked for years, as we later learned, not getting paid by MSNBC, because that's how they operate in that situation. But I like following his political analysis. So I caught him about 12:30 yesterday, right? And I caught it was this morning. I caught a recording of his 12:30 a.m. live, and he was talking about a document about a essay that Michael Cohen wrote. Um, I guess it was yesterday, and that he had read it, and he wasn't surprised, he was a little outraged. And hey, Aggie, how are you? Um, so he's a little outraged, and I'm going to share that document with you guys today. No Irish Aggie, we're on Substack. We're in both places now. Um, so, but in the document, Michael Cohen basically does something that seems very weird, unless you've been following Michael Cohen for the last couple of months. And Waj, and the reason that Waj Ali and Lev Parnas, who was also on Waj's 12:30 a.m. Substack live talking about this, or Tara Palmari, who's another Substack independent journalist. She was a former ABC journalist, so she's not. Palmari is not just a, like the rest of us, a talking head. She's a seasoned former broadcast journalist, right? So Michael Cohen has been, and all of these people had relationships with him. I mean, I'm too small. I've never had Michael Cohen on my Substack. I've reached out to him, but it's understandable that, when you have a smaller community, it's hard to access some of the larger personalities in the pro-democracy community. It can be a little bit difficult to get a hold of folks, and so, but these people had relationships with Michael Cohen. They've been on his Substack. I'm sure he's been on theirs. Lev certainly had a longstanding relationship. Him and Malcolm Nance and Lev Parnas used to talk on Substack a lot. And lately, Michael has been, not even that lately, but he's been absolutely freaking out whenever anybody asks him detailed questions about the Epstein files. Just losing his shit. And by the way, for the Substack folks, also for the YouTube and the TikTok folks, I reached out to through Substack to Waj and to Lev to see if any of them will join me, will come onto the Substack. Again, I don't know if that's. I hope they will, because I would like them to share this story because they've been living it. Again, I don't know if I can break through just yet, because they probably get hundreds of DMs a day. I'll have a better opportunity in the next few weeks to bring some of these larger personalities on, because I'll be joining the Chorus program, as I've told you guys about. And through that program, they will sort of maybe help me network a little bit better and more effectively. So hopefully here on, and if you're on TikTok, please please consider joining us over on xenocracy.news. That's my Substack. That's a space where I do lives every day, Monday through Friday, and we do the Saturday morning live as well for everyone. And it's we have Gamer Vet Dad who writes articles for us. We sort of pick the news apart, and I make fun of Donald Trump, and I have sound effects now. So it can make it easier. Sometimes I cover law, Senate hearings and House hearings, and whenever the Off of the Village Idiot has a press conference or something, we cover that live, and we try to make it a little entertaining. Hey Elizabeth, how are you? We try to make it a little entertaining. So please consider coming. My link is in the bio here here on TikTok. If you guys are with us on YouTube as well, please consider coming over to Substack as well, and joining us in the space as well, because I'm only on YouTube like once or twice a week as well. Anyway, on that note, so Michael Cohen has been exploding, losing his shit, just out of control. Every time he gets, and Tara Palmari, really, her Substack is called The Red Letter, and she had an interview with him, and she really noticed that he was probably fucking lying about when she was interviewing him about the Epstein stuff, and she's a reporter, right? She started pushing, and without emotion, without fear or favor, she started pushing, and Michael went fucking batshit on her. You can find that. You can see that yourself. There was I think it was a Substack with Lev Parnas and Michael Cohen, Waj Ali, and I think one other guy. and they were discussing things, and Waj was on there, and Waj had left, and the three, Lev and Michael and the other guy, started discussing um, the Epstein files, and Lev started pushing a bit, and Michael went fucking batshit. Again, I had noticed this. I don't remember. I don't know if it was a year ago or if it was 8 months ago. It's been one long day since the Village Idiot has been inaugurated, so I don't remember how long ago it was. But I don't remember if it was cable news. I mean, I think the TikTok community, if some of you guys may have been, because I wasn't on Substack at the time. You may have been with me at that point, maybe not. But I had mentioned that Michael was being interviewed about the Epstein files. I think it was on cable news. This was a long time ago, and he was oddly dismissive of the Epstein. He was oddly dismissive of how bad, things were going to be for Donald Trump. He was oddly, for somebody who had been going after Donald Trump fairly consistently, he was oddly dismissive to me about that Trump somehow, his hands are clean. And I found it strange. And he started to get a little annoyed. He started to get a little irritable, not to the point where he went batshit crazy and started yelling at people and walked off the interview. It wasn't that. It wasn't like what we've seen recently. But I was struck by that. And I've watched Michael's reporting with a grain of salt. I wouldn't call it reporting, but I've watched Michael's, I've how do I phrase this? As I watched him on YouTube, TikTok, and then leave TikTok because he was tired of, of the bullshit with the algorithm, which I can completely understand. As I kind of watched that, and I watched him hammering Donald Trump, I was struggling with having a sense of respect for him because he did go to jail. He never admitted that he did anything wrong, by the way. He still admitted that he still always said that he was set up by Alvin Bragg, the district attorney of New York. But he did, he had this weird kind of counterbalance thing where on the one hand, he was set up by Bragg, and on the other hand, he served his, he should, and I did, he should be respected and appreciated because he served his sentence. He got out a little early for COVID, and that's fine. But he did what he had to do. And a coward like fucking Donald Trump became president again, and no one else around Trump or Epstein, around Trump, besides Michael Cohen, went to jail for what Trump was eventually convicted of, right? So I always found Michael. So I struggled because I had a lot of respect for him. I thought he had shifted. He had followed the redemption arc that we see in the movies, going from a complete asshole, Trumpian sociopath lunatic to, a decent person. And I still think that kind of sort of might be the case, although Lev Parnas would rightfully disagree with me exponentially about that. And I'm starting to kind of feel what Lev is talking about, because with Michael's fucking insane reactions whenever he's asked about the Epstein files, reaction to me that remind me of the way when my 10-year-old was 7 years old, and he or his friends would get caught doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and they would lie about it. A child who hasn't learned better yet will often go crazy. They'll start out lying, I didn't do it. No, I didn't do it. I never did it. It didn't happen. I didn't do it. And then that child, depending on the personality of the kid and where they're at in their maturity level, that might devolve. And that might devolve into the child getting mad, maybe throwing a tantrum. I didn't do it. I never did. No. And then we can all see when it's a child, and we forgive the child, and we try to teach the child because they're children. And that's what they're supposed to do. But we see the child devolve. I certainly have seen it with my son. I still sometimes see it. He's 10, right? But we see the child devolve into a sense of rage because they've been caught and because their conscience is is affecting the lie, right? Donald Trump, we see him going into a state of rage, but not because he ever gets caught lying, right? Because he's such a sociopath, he's such a malignant narcissist that I don't think that conscience is there. There's no trigger there. That he gets angry, I think, for other reasons. But I think we get adults, and I think Michael Cohen could fall into this community. I think sometimes we get adults who, when they're caught, um, they haven't matured into just being able to say, you know what, I fucked up here. This is really bad. This is really wrong. At least that's what I was thinking about Michael, up until today. Till up until today, I was seeing Michael more as I see what you're saying, me. He has plenty of reasons to hate Trump, and he does. But just stick with me for this. I think I'm starting to believe that Michael isn't just a guy who I can respect, who had his redemption arc, who then is just a little immature as a grown-up, which any of us can be, and is overreactive when he gets caught lying. And that maybe, because I thought, maybe he knew something about Epstein, but he didn't want to say it, and it's been too long, and he has called for the release of the Epstein files, sort of, kind of, and maybe because he was Donald Trump's fixer during a period of that, during some of the time that Epstein was doing the most horrific things. And we know that Donald was involved in those things because we have that email from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell in 2008, basically specifically saying that Donald Trump spent hours alone with one of Epstein's victims. That, to me, is the smoking gun. To suggest that Donald Trump, I know we have TikTok here, so I have to use TikTok language, is an rapist. But still, I didn't want to believe that maybe Michael Cohen was deeper into this in some capacity, right? But now I think that Cohen may be trying to get back into Donald Trump's good graces. I think that Lev Parnas is, and I'm going to explain why in a moment. Lev Parnas is certain that this is happening. Waj Ali seems to have no doubt for whatever you credence you give to their perspectives, but I give quite a bit to them, and to my own, and having watched Michael and having watched everything transpire over the last several weeks, that maybe Michael is angling for a pardon. Maybe, and the quid pro quo with the village idiot Donald Trump would be that he gets the DOJ to investigate Letitia James and Alvin Bragg, and I'm going to explain. I'm going to get into it in just a moment. And Donald Trump makes the argument that his conviction of 34 counts in the state of New York was a hatchet job, right? Because I was never guilty, I never did it. Of course, he fucking did it. But so now, without further ado, let me get to the reporting. If I can find the reporting here, hang on. Let me pull up my. Just bear with me, guys. Here, I had everything kind of set up and ready, but maybe not. Maybe not as much as I should have. Hang on, just bear with me. There we go. Okay, now unfortunately, TikTok, you guys can't see this, and I do apologize, but I can't bring up articles on TikTok directly because TikTok, if I do it, TikTok will just end the live. I'll get the algorithm will tell me that it's not original information, and I just have to be a talking head on TikTok or the live ends. So you're just gonna have to bear with me when I read this. This was a Substack post from Michael Cohen yesterday. It's and I'm gonna read it to you, and why would this come out? What? Let me just shut up and fucking read it to you. When politics blind justice. That's the title. Okay, the subtitle: a closer look at the Trump hush money appeal and what it reveals about power, prosecution, and testimony. So this is Michael's post from yesterday. There are moments when silence becomes complicity, when letting the record stand without context feels less like restraint and more like consent. This is one of those moments. So Michael starts it with this quote, right? And then he goes in. A federal appeals court has just revived President Donald Trump's effort to undo his New York hush money conviction, ordering a lower court to reconsider whether the case belongs in state court or should be moved to federal court, right? So what Michael is talking about is that a federal appeals court, the village idiot was convicted on 34 counts, right, in the state of New York, right? And of course the fucking idiot's gonna do everything he possibly can to get this conviction overturned. And the federal appeals court is making the argument that, or not making the argument, but has, according to Michael, has ordered the lower court to reconsider whether this case should have been tried in New York State court as opposed to federal court. I don't know how that could be a thing since it was a federal crime, but that's another story, right? As expected, I'm sorry. I have that backward. That it should have been tried in federal court instead of New York State court. I mixed that up because if it's in federal court, right, then the federal court, Pam Bondi, the sociopath who is the attorney general, can just end the case. Can just say we're not doing it. We're not going to pursue this case any further. Fuck this. Donald is innocent, and the village idiot will. I've been exonerated, completely exonerated. I'm fine. Nobody can say anything. We're gonna keep winning. We're just gonna keep winning.
We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please.
And then we're gonna have that, right? So, so that's sort of the beginning of the article. Well, let me continue reading. As expected, the reaction was immediate and predictable. This is Michael Cohen. Some called it accountability under siege. Others labeled it proof of partisan lawfare run amok. What was missing, again, was any serious discussion of how the cases are actually built, who they rely on, and what happens behind closed doors before a jury ever hears a word. Now, here you're thinking, okay, I mean, Michael doesn't seem to be saying anything crazy. He's not saying Donald Trump was innocent. Let's continue. I am not writing this to defend Donald Trump, nor to relitigate his conduct. I think that's exactly why he's saying this. That ground has been plowed endlessly, often loudly, and rarely thoughtfully. I am writing this because I have seen the system from the inside, not as an observer or an analyst, but as a central subpoenaed participant. When courts now revisit questions of jurisdiction, immunity, and evidentiary boundaries, there is nothing in this that says the court is Michael is kind of setting you up now, setting the reader up to by putting bullshit in here, right? I am writing because I have seen the system from the inside, not as an observer, but as a central subpoenaed agent. When courts now revisit questions of jurisdiction, that is all this is. There is nothing else that the court is questioning. Immunity and evidentiary boundaries, they are engaging in sterile procedural debates. They are exposing how justice is pursued, how power is applied, and how outcomes are shaped well before verdicts are rendered. Right? The court is only looking at jurisdiction in this point. My perspective is not theoretical. It is lived. In 2023 and 24, I testified in 2 trials in which President Donald J. Trump was the defendant. The first trial was a civil action brought by the New York State Attorney General's office alleging that President Trump, fraudulently inflated his assets to obtain favorable loan terms. Agreed. The court found President Trump liable and ordered that he and other defendants pay a staggering $454 million penalty, which was later overturned on appeal. The second trial was a criminal action brought by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office alleging that President Trump falsified business records in connection with hush money payments made to Karen McDougal. That is the thing that Trump was found guilty of, that Michael Cohen testified. Now, Michael Cohen was not the star witness. He was the most high-profile witness. He was supposed to be the most entertaining witness, right? But they didn't need him to solidify the case. And you had jurors within just hours convict the village idiot. The case was rock solid. It was clear to those of us following it that Donald Trump did this, right? And that it was clear to the jury. And again, Michael Cohen was important because he was able to he was the guy putting the deal together for Donald Trump. And the Todd Blanche and Emil Bove, two of the defense attorneys for Donald Trump, couldn't break Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen did an amazing job, because he's a hot wire and he has a difficult time controlling his anger. We've seen that, but he did an incredible job just acting like a normal person. And under those circumstances, with somebody who has a personality like his, that can be hard for days and days. I don't know if I wouldn't have broken under the pressure. I give Michael all the credit in the world for how he handled that trial and how he answered questions truthfully. But let's continue. The second trial was a criminal action brought by Manhattan District Attorney alleging that President Trump falsified business records in connection with hush money payments made to Karen McDougal and Stormy McDaniels to influence the 2016 presidential election. In that case, the jury found President Trump guilty in both trials. Government lawyers made me, Michael, the key witness. From the time I first began meeting with lawyers from the Manhattan DA's office and the New York Attorney General's office in connection with their investigations of President Trump, and through the trials themselves, I felt pressured. This is the key. This is where I think Michael goes off the rails, and this is why it's getting harder and harder to believe that Michael is not angling for a pardon, and that Michael is somehow connected in the Epstein files, at least from my perspective, for whatever that's worth. I felt pressured and coerced only to only provide information and testimony that would satisfy the government's desire to build a case against and secure a judgment and conviction against President Trump. That line is all that the right-wing echo chamber, it's all that the right-wing media, it's all that the village idiot, it's all that sociopath Pam Bondi and psychopath Kash Patel need to open a DOJ investigation into Alvin Bragg, another one, and Letitia James and the village idiot. That's all the village idiot needed to come out and say, I was not guilty. They got me. Look, Michael is saying it. And I'm going to read you the truth. You think that fucking idiot Donald Trump was capable of reading this article? Highly unlikely. But within a short time of this article coming out, Shit for Brains couldn't wait to get on Truth Social and read the post about this. And it's getting harder to believe that this isn't something that has been going on behind the scenes between Michael and some intermediaries through the Trump administration. There's no proof of that. It's total fucking speculation. It's complete fake news, right? I get it. It's just what it seems like. So I'm not arguing that this is the truth. But and 10 years ago, if I would have, even 5 years ago, I would have felt like, a conspiratorial nutcase telling you this. I would have thought, yeah, Trump is capable of shit like this, but no fucking way. It's not a thing. I feel like it's a thing for whatever that's worth, whatever that means to you. Anyway, let me continue. My first meeting with prosecutors from the Manhattan DA's office was in August 2019. When I was a little over 3 months into serving a 3-year prison sentence following my guilty plea committing federal crimes. As later came out during President Trump's criminal trial, one of the very first questions I asked those prosecutors was how I would benefit from cooperating. The reason was simple. I wanted to do whatever I could to obtain my Rule 35B motion, return home to my family, and resume my fractured life. Now, remember, for those of you that aren't following the ins and outs of independent media on Substack, just less than a week ago, Lev Parnas. I can't. Zev. It's not. There's another influencer. His name is Zev. I don't know Zev's last name. Uh, but after he was on that, that in the beginning of the live, I told you about that conversation, that live that Lev Parnas and Waj Ali and Michael Cohen and somebody else were having, and I think it's this guy Zev, right? So I'm pretty sure I might. Hopefully, this is why I'd love to get Waj or Lev onto my live so they could tell us the actual story, because I'm very capable of fucking it up, guys, as you well know. Um, well, there's Lev, Cindy, and then there's Zev. There's two Evs, right? And they both have significant Substack presences. But anyway, after Michael Cohen went nuts on the live with them, based on what I think I heard Waj talking about yesterday, right? After Michael Cohen went batshit, right? Zev didn't let it go, and some of his subscribers didn't let it go, and they started digging into the Epstein files, to the shit that's been released, and they found this Rule 30. I think it was one of Zev's people found this Rule 35. Something about this Rule 35 motion, right? And so they found something, and they found an email, I think, from two prosecutors, federal prosecutors who were looking at the case. And they were talking about this Rule 35 motion. And they were talking about the fact that Michael Cohen was offering dirt to them about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein in exchange, obviously, for, whether it be to make a deal, to not go on trial, to stay out of prison, whatever the case may be. And again, that's not weird, right? That wouldn't be unusual when somebody is facing a criminal case, and they did it, and Michael Cohen admitted that he did it, and then, well, he pleaded guilty but never admitted that he did it. That's another story. But my point is, with this, that's not, we hear about that, right? We hear about that all the time, people flipping, right? We've learned one of the good things, if there's any good thing, the few good things about the village idiot Donald Trump being in our political life for the last 10 years is our understanding of how things work, how government works, how the Justice Department operates. Like, we've all become experts in civics and in criminal prosecution and civil prosecution, and political civics, because we've had to, and none of us knew shit. We all took it for granted forever, right? Now we actually know how shit works, right? So it's not unusual. It's not unusual to see that that somebody who was accused of a crime, who was going to plead guilty, is trying to cut a deal. So maybe at the time, Michael knew something about Donald and about specifically Donald and Epstein. And Lev has a theory on the case, which he is sure is certain. I'm not going to try to repeat it because I don't really understand it completely. I heard Lev and Waj talking about it in their live last night, about who this 13-year-old Epstein victim is. Some of you guys probably know the story better than I do. I think it was back in like 2008 or 19, I don't remember, but it was a young girl who accused them of sexually assaulting her. And there's much more to it than that. But I don't want to go into that because I just don't know enough about it. And I don't want to, this is already so speculative. I don't want to add misinformation. I'd rather, if I can ever get Lev on my show, or Waj, or both of them, I'll have them tell the story. Or if I do a little more research and I understand what the fuck I'm talking about, I'll share that with you guys. But irrespective, this Rule 35 email that Zev's subscriber found in the Epstein files, this email between these two prosecutors, was clearly indicative of the fact that Michael Cohen knew more about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein than he was saying. And if you're not in the Substack independent media world, you don't follow what's happening in the space all the time, you might not know that they were all talking about this. They were talking about this. Tara Palmieri was talking about this. This was the buzz part. I mean, there's plenty of buzz. There's plenty of shit to talk about. But in between all the other fucking craziness that we're dealing with right now, from the Trump, the ICE Gestapo, and the economy going to shit, and the fucking Venezuela attack in Greenland, and with all that crazy shit. And it's like, what the fuck? The independent media space, and again, TikTok, YouTube, if you're not there, go there. Follow me, follow some of these other folks, because all the legacy media can handle and is willing to handle is the stuff that's right in front of your face. In the independent space, and you have some real fucking journalists, some good real journalists, a lot of them. It's not just talking head influencer, mouthpieces like me. There are real solid refugee journalists who came from ABC News, MS Now, New York Times. They're the real journalists who got so fucking fed up with being having to report. Either they got fired for reporting properly or reporting to their corporate overlords. They wanted the freedom to report the truth as we went into the second Trump administration. Go into this space. Find your favorite influencers and journalists. Hear what they're saying, because while everything else was transpiring, they were able to also cover what was happening behind the scenes, with the Epstein files, and that it just didn't go away. And it's not bullshit reporting like you see on the right, like in the right-wing echo chamber, where they come up with a conspiracy theory and they make shit up. These are a lot of real journalists doing real reporting about everything all the time. So it's a space that it's worth your time to go into if you're interested in finding out what the media isn't able or willing to report, the mainstream media. So irrespective, back to this. So there was this Rule 35 motion, and that was propagating all over the pro-democracy Substack space. Everybody was talking about, why did Michael Cohen, if Michael Cohen knew nothing about Epstein and Trump, like he said there was some other lawyer who was involved with Trump in this case or that case, and he knew nothing, then why is there this email saying of Michael Cohen trying to cut a deal with prosecutors and making the argument that that he knew shit? He must be lying. And if he's lying, he needs to come clean. If he's complicit, then for his own honor and dignity, he needs to come clean. Complicit meaning, I can't imagine Michael Cohen. He doesn't strike me as the type of person that did anything disgusting and where he raped one of the young girls. I certainly hope not. But who the fuck knows? But he was Donald Trump's fixer, and he could have been cleaning up for Donald Trump, right? So Michael, I've been waiting. I don't pay much attention to Michael Cohen on Substack anymore because I've been feeling slimy. I've been feeling like a little bit dirty, paying attention to Michael. And I just, look, if you have an influencer that you like that you're not into anymore, what do? You just check out, right? You tune out of that influencer. You don't pay attention to them anymore. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just bouncing through a couple different windows at the same time. I only have one computer screen, so I as soon as I click a window, I kind of lose another window. Hang on one second, guys. I'm just kind of messing with my screen and really kind of screwing everything up here. So let me see if I can get back. There we go. I wanted to get back to my main window. All right. So I think Michael was. I was waiting for Michael to respond in the. I was waiting for Michael to respond in the media sphere, the independent media sphere, about this 35 B document. And I hadn't seen anything. And I was wondering, I can't imagine Michael Cohen being quiet about this, right? Well, here it is. Here's finally his response. The reason was simple. I wanted to do whatever I could to obtain my Rule 35 motion, return home to my family, and resume my life. Fine, you wanted to make a deal. You're admitting it now, okay? I don't know, and I don't know if let's see what else he says. About 13 months later, in September 2020, due to good behavior in the COVID-19 pandemic, I was released from federal prison and permitted to serve the remainder of my term, which ended in November 2021, in home confinement. After my release, I continued to meet with prosecutors and hoped that in exchange for my cooperation, my home confinement and later my supervised release sentence would be shortened. Absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that. He served his time. He paid his debt to society. During my time with prosecutors, both in preparation for and during the trials, it was clear They were interested only in testimony from me that would enable them to convict President Trump. When my testimony was insufficient for a point the prosecution sought to make, prosecutors frequently asked inappropriate leading questions to elicit answers that supported the narrative. Again, now, why, if this is true, and if the prosecutors were dirty, right, and they were just trying to set up Trump, if Alvin Bragg's prosecutors were dirty, and they were just, if Letitia James' prosecutors in the civil case were dirty, and they were just trying to set up Trump, why now? Why now would Michael come out with this? Why now? Why now, a week after the discovery in the Epstein files of this 35B rule motion where he said he had dirt on Donald Trump and was trying to get a better deal, right? Why now when the Trump administration is clearly using the Department of Justice to go after his political enemies, Letitia James, James Comey, Jerome Powell, right? The DOJ just announced an investigation into Mayor Fry of Minneapolis, into Governor Walz, right? I don't know. Why now, Michael? Michael knows how the Department of Justice works, right? Trump's Department of Justice, he knows how Trump works. Why now? Why didn't Michael? Michael has been aggressively hammering Trump, rightfully so, for some time now, right? Why now come out with this information? Why write this thing now? Let me continue. I experienced a similar dynamic in the Attorney General's civil case. Letitia James made it publicly known during her 2018 campaign for Attorney General that, if elected, she would go after President Trump. Her office made clear that the testimony they wanted from me was testimony that would help them do just that. Again, I felt compelled and coerced to deliver what they were seeking. Letitia James and Alvin Bragg may not share the same office or political calendar, but they share the same playbook. Both use their platforms to elevate their profiles, to claim the mantle of officials who, quote, who took down Trump. In doing so, they blurred the line between justice and politics. And in that blur, the credibility of both suffered. That's fucking bullshit. I mean, this is, and again, this is why I find part of it is what are the facts here, and it's hard to determine what they are. And part of it is just we were all there. You know, we all watched this all happen in real time. We watched Letitia James go after Donald Trump. We watched her make the statements publicly that no one is above the law. We watched Alvin Bragg go after Donald Trump. And there is no indication, there was never any indication, except in the right-wing sociopath echo chamber, which was pure projection, that Letitia James or Alvin Bragg were dirty cops, right? That they were on the take, that they were anything less than public servants who followed the highest ethical standards, period. That's, I mean, you saw it in real time. And you saw them, up against a crooked cabal of goofballs, right? And the projection was always that they're out to, it's the same thing. The projection that when the Village Idiot was when the criminal, the convicted felon, who was indicted on two other federal charges and in one other state charge in a RICO case in Georgia, and that was the only potentially shaky case that Donald Trump was facing up against. The other two, the fucking classified documents case was a slam dunk in Florida. I mean, the fucking water bottle is yellow, right? We all see it's yellow. Donald tells us it's blue, so he's innocent. No. We saw the images of the stolen documents in Donald Trump's fucking Mar-a-Lago bathroom, right? Come on. You know what I mean? Like, of course, we're a country of laws, and you're innocent until proven guilty. Of course. That's a prosecutor's high bar. Guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt. 100%. Our country is based on the rule of law. But in terms of public perception, the court of public opinion, fuck off. Seriously. I mean, come on. Like of course, of course he was guilty, right? Just like Donald Trump didn't RAP one of any of Epstein's young girls. Come on, stop it, right? Just stop it. And Alvin Bragg and come on, Michael. Alvin Bragg was on the take. Letitia James was on the take. Fucking stop it. I can't stand it anymore from these fucking people, right? Especially at least the ones that profess to be normal, right? If you're fucking part of the batshit, MAGA cult-like mentality, yeah, all right, I get it. You're there. We can't get through. What you see with your eyes, what you hear with your ears, isn't what you see with your eyes, and isn't what you hear with your ears. I get it. It's whatever Donald tells you, right? If Kristi Noem tells us all that schmuck ICE agent, right, was, unalived Renee Good because his life was in danger, because he thought it was in danger. And then they followed it up with bullshitting us that the fucking guy went to the hospital. Then CBS News tells us it was internal bleeding. Right? We all saw that fucking idiot walk away after he unalived, this Renee Good at point blank range when she was driving away from him. We saw it with our eyes. We heard it with our ears. Might as well fucking been there as eyewitnesses, right? You're one step removed from all the videos that you saw of actually being there. Stop it. And then we see this putz running away, almost getting in his car and driving away after he does the murder, right? And then these half-wits are telling us she was a domestic terrorist. Then to make their story stronger, he went to the hospital. He never went to the fucking hospital. And then to make their story stronger, CBS News, which is which is the new Fox News of broadcast networks, right? He was treated for internal injuries. Did you ever see someone with internal bleeding, fucking walking away from the scene of the crime after they got hit by a car? Just stop it. And Michael, we believed in you. That's why I think I'm so worked up about this. You turned the corner. You were a man of respect. After you were a horrible shit when you were involved with the Trump administration. We heard it. We heard when the village idiot was elected the first time. And we all heard the audio, the recording of you going after the young Daily Beast reporter. He's a seasoned reporter now, but he was new. It was young at the time. And you yelling and screaming at him and telling him, I will destroy you and I will enjoy it. Right? Remember that, guys? Right? We remember that. And we saw the redemption arc. We saw you come back and be normal. And we saw you sit courageously in the courtroom. We watched you sit courageously in the courtroom as dingbat fucking Todd Blanche tried to break you down and piss you off and make you go crazy, asking you the dumbest fucking questions, right? Emil Bove, the fucking 11th Court of Appeals judge now, right? That shouldn't be, we shouldn't be hiring him to walk our dogs because he's so untrustworthy, right? That Trump nutcase, asking you questions, right? I mean, come on. We watched you stand up. You went to jail. You paid your debt to society. Good for you. You stood up to the Trump organization. You stood up to the village idiot. But now for what? Are you doing this? To get a fucking pardon? Right? And you're giving the village idiot the power that he needs to try to get vengeance. Did they threaten you? Did he come after you? Did they seek revenge on you? Did they say they were going to investigate you? Maybe. I don't know. We'll never know. And Abigail, I get it. I get it, And guys, I'm not going to the rest of this piece it's quite a long piece. It's not that long by Michael, but go to his Substack, read it yourself. Make your own decisions whether you're going to subscribe as a paid subscriber to his Substack. I can't tell you what to do. I mean, I can, but it doesn't matter. It's none of my business. I will remain a subscriber to Michael because I want to see what he puts out for the sake of reporting, for the sake of understanding what's going on. An unpaid subscriber, but if fucking if you're paying, the only thing I will give your money to someone else. Give it to Waj, right? Right? Give it to Zev. Give it to charity, right? You know what I mean? But take your $5 a month and give it to, if you've got a good Democratic politician who's going for running for reelection in 2026, especially in the Senate in a red state, contribute there, but not to this. This is fucking crazy. Now, why do I think this is so dangerous? Let me say, I just this is why it's so dangerous. Now, unfortunately, Substack. I'm sorry. TikTok, I just did something weird with you guys there. Let me just check TikTok to make sure, because every once in a while TikTok will end the live because it'll say that I'm not I'm not being active. So let me just say hello to everybody in the chat. Hello, TikTok. All right, that's telling TikTok I'm still here. I'm still here, TikTok. Don't end the chat. Oh, hang on. My wife is just texting me if I want a bagel. I need a fucking bagel. Yes. Hang on. Yes, love. We call each other love. She says, "Hey, love, do you want a bagel?" We're those people. Love, would you like a bagel? And I said, "Yes, love." I'm going to say, I need a fucking bagel. Trump is, doing the Cohen stuff. She'll know what I'm talking about. Hang on, guys. Look, if this is the first time you follow me, or you've seen my, if you don't usually follow me on live, I do stuff like this. I talk about my family, and I don't usually text, but it's a bagel, guys. I live in northern New Jersey. We have good bagels. All right. So why is this so dangerous? Why is Lev Parnas arguing that this is a complete setup? I'm not sure that I completely agree with Lev, but I'm not sure I completely don't. Right? So why is Lev Parnas asking? And Lev, if you're watching, I know you're doing 10,000 things this morning. Or Waj, if you're watching, I know you're doing 10,000 things. Or Tara, if you're watching, please consider coming onto my Substack. I really, I know there's parts of this story that I'm not getting right. My wife's, no, my wife thinks I'm being facetious. Hang on, guys. A bagel is at stake. I know American democracy is on the line, but this is about a bagel, and if I don't clarify this, I'm not going to get one. All right. We're good. Whew, bagel's coming. All right. So, unfortunately, as I keep saying, I can't show you guys this on TikTok. I'm just gonna have to read it. The Village Idiot Truth social post. Okay. Let me just fix that for you guys here on YouTube and Substack, because you can't see it. Here we go. So the Village Idiot posts. These horrible radical left people doing everything possible to destroy our country should pay a big price for this. It was a setup from the beginning. New York courts and many fair and wonderful judges are embarrassed by what has happened. We cannot let this pass. Michael Cohen says he was coerced by Letitia James and Alvin Bragg on Trump. And then the idiot posts the New York Post, right, article about this. The idiot didn't read the idiot didn't read the article because he's not capable. He can't read a fucking teleprompter anymore. He's not gonna be able to read an article, and he certainly didn't read Michael's post. But Michael's back, right? I can't help but assume that Michael, we'll see what happens with Michael over the next several days, and the next week. But, you know, one thing we've learned about Trump is that his enemies his perceived enemies and his real enemies, they can do any kind of shit they want to him, right? As long as they don't take him down, right? If they come groveling back to him, if they make a pretend deal with him, right? He welcomes them back in because they provide energy to it provides, it's his power. Donald Trump is not powerful because he has money. He has other people's money. He has money that he's conned or stolen or other people have got. He doesn't have any fucking money. He has money, but it's not money. He doesn't have Donald. What I mean is Donald's not Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos has a tremendous amount of personal power because Bezos knows that he can earn money. He knows he can be a billionaire. He knows he can create $1 billion, right? And over and over and over again. And that gives you power, not power necessarily over other people. I'm not talking about it that way. I'm talking about personal power. You feel confident, right, that you can do that. He has a talent, right? We all have things that we know that we can do, that we're really good at, and we've done it over and over again, and we have personal power associated with that, right? Village Idiot doesn't have that. He's a weak shell of a man. He has no ability to acquire money on his own. He has no talent to earn money. He has no talent to run the country. He knows he's a fake fucking president. That's why he's so desperate for all these. That's why he needs now he needs physical golden awards like Machado gave him her Nobel Peace Prize, and Donald got they got off on that. Right, he needs these awards, the fake FIFA Peace Prize. Right, he needs those things because he has nothing. He doesn't have any ability to do things. He has no personal power in any area at all, except he feels really powerful and strong when he subjugates an enemy. Right, when somebody he perceives to be an enemy comes back and kisses his ass, that's when he feels strong and powerful, and he welcomes them back into his fold. Look at Elon Musk, right? Right. That's the most high-profile example of, and we've seen this over and over and over again. Look at all the people. Look at fucking Marco Rubio. Remember during the 2016 primary election, when the 2016 election, but during the primary season, the Republican primary. Remember, during the primary season, none of the primary contenders could make a jolt in Donald Trump. They couldn't get anywhere, right? Chris Christie had the best shot. Chris Christie really went against him, but he lost. Chris Christie never folded, but he lost. The only one that actually got a few. Remember when Ted Cruz went after him? Donald, you come after my wife, you come after me. Right? He got because Donald called Ted Cruz's wife ugly. Fucking ridiculous. Now, Donald, you insult my wife, you insult me. Now the gloves are off. Look at Cruz now. Absolute ass kisser. The Village Idiot, for better or for worse, has grinded Cruz into the ground. Cruz is nothing, right? And a piece of shit like Donald, it's bad enough to be beaten and destroyed by a person of honor, of dignity, of caliber. But a piece of trash like Donald, grinds you into the ground. That really makes you less than dirt, right? Look at Marco Rubio. Marco, toward the end of the primary season, right? Marco actually started hitting Trump. He was in a town hall and he started making fun of Donald Trump's little hands, tiny hands, right? And he was getting laughs from the crowd. Marco kind of got into this I remember that town hall like it was yesterday. Marco kind of got going. He sort of got rolling on it. And it was actually impressive to watch because Marco is not a dumb fuck, right? Marco was like being a little bit of a comedian, right? He was going. The crowd was loving it. He really hit. The media picked it up. I mean, Marco had the potential, because he's a smart man, was a smart man, to put Donald on the ropes. But he chickened out, right? Then a day later, Marco's like, this isn't me, and it's not what I like to do with my kids. It's not me as a Catholic, and I'm going to be nice. And Trump beat Marco, then beat the fuck out of Marco, and pounded Marco down. And now Marco is Donald Trump's Secretary of State. He's in charge of what else is he? He's got like 12 jobs, and fucking Venezuela, right? And there's nothing left of him. He doesn't exist. He's an avatar for Donald Trump. He is he's Donald Trump. If you think of, let's use the evangelical example, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? Because the evangelicals like that. Little Marco, if Donald is the Father, Marco is Jesus. I mean, in the most pathetic version of it, he is an avatar of. He is the taking the religious thing, because I don't want to insult Christianity. That's not my intention here. Marco is nothing. There's no spirit. There's no soul. There's no intellectual. All that intellectual prowess that Marco has, it's just gone. It's just whatever Donald wants, and he does it, right? So Donald likes to crush people, control them, and then reward them as servants, in essence, right? And if that's what's happening now with Michael Cohen, we will see. We will see how far Michael goes now, because everyone who is paying attention to this is going to call it out, right? We will see how far Michael goes. Hang on, I just got to let TikTok know I'm still here, or else they're going to end the live. There we go. But do we see Michael Cohen in the White House, invited to the White House in the next couple of weeks? Do we see Michael Cohen get a White House press pass and start sitting in the press box with Carolyn Lying Levitt? Do we see Michael get a pardon, right, for his crime? And do we see the DOJ open a nonsensical investigation into Alvin Bragg and Letitia James, another one into Letitia James? I don't see how that doesn't happen. The one thing about the Village Idiot, well, there's many things, is he's so predictable, right? We know where this is going. I think we can clearly expect what's going to happen. The surprise will be if it doesn't go that way. If Michael goes back to his Trump hammering, and I think Michael put out a Substack today that might be hammering Trump. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Michael tries to kind of get his part in and do according to what Lev Parnas is saying, do a backdoor deal with maybe Michael continues to hammer Trump on one end, and then does this backdoor deal to get the investigation going, and for Donald to somehow get this conviction pretend overturned, but Michael still hammers Trump, and he sort of plays two sides against the middle. We'll see how this transpires, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. Anyway, guys, on that note, I've been going for just under an hour and a half, and I'm starting to lose my voice just a bit. Hang on. TikTok is complaining that there's inactivity. How can there be fucking inactivity? I said, hello, TikTok. I'm here. We have detected inactivity during your current live. Complete the verification, which I did, and I just said, hello, everybody. So Juju, Michael knows too much. He probably fears for his life. Hey, Juju, you know what? I want to read some comments, and then we'll wrap the live, because I have a slight cold and I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. Flocking BITCH. I can't say it because I don't want to get banned here, but thank you for the gifts. Maybe Juju, you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe this is maybe his life has been threatened, and maybe his family's life has been threatened. I hadn't considered that, and maybe those threats are credible, and maybe he knows they're credible, and maybe there is nobody who can protect him. Certainly, certainly won't be the federal government. So, if that's the case, then my perspective, at least my judgment on Michael would be a little bit different. So it's a perfectly fair point. Orange Man remembers that, and when the shit hits the fan, Marco will be covered in it. Agree with you 100%. DZ 455. And I'm so sorry if anybody is. I know there's a few folks out there on whatchamacallit, on YouTube. My apologies for not. I don't have the YouTube feed coming in yet into my into my streaming software. I just haven't figured out how to do that yet. So my apologies if you guys have made any comments. I can't see them. So I will work on that though, and I will get better with that. But I can't see them now. That's why I'm not responding at all to YouTube. But that's something I'm going to work on. Irish Aggie, Marco is full of shit. He has nothing to do with being Catholic. 100%. I agree. Irish Aggie, what the hell did she do that for? I'm sure you were responding to something I was talking about, Aggie. I'm always, 10 steps behind the chat. Gamer Vet Daddy's like a child jumping up and down, seeing others get pardoned, and wants the next one. You know what, Gamer Vet Dad? Always insightful, always based on, your analysis is always based on the facts of the moment. I always appreciate that because you always keep me honest. That is a great point. We've had at least a handful of pardons from the Village Idiot in the last 5 days alone, right? Pardons seem to come to criminals, convicted criminals they're being treated very badly. They're not being treated very badly, but convicted criminals seem to consistently get, white-collar criminals consistently seem to get pardoned by the Village Idiot, and that's a great point, Gamer Vet Dad. He's seeing everybody get these pardons, and he knows that Donald Trump's in a pardoning mood. So, Michael wants his, and that's a very plausible situation. No, I haven't watched the video of Sasha Riley, Juju, but I'm not familiar with it, but I will. If you could do me a favor, if you have a chance, Juju. If not, I get. You know what? Actually, I was going to say, let me write it down. Okay, Sasha Riley. Okay. Hopefully, I'll remember to look at this, but I will take a look at it. So I think, guys, I think I got to wrap the live because, like I said, there's a little bit too much post-nasal drip right now, and I'm feeling it. You probably can hear it. It's too much information, right? It's just a minor cold, but it's like one of those annoying fucking colds. It could be the flu, but I did get my flu shot, so maybe it helped. I know it's not a great flu shot this year. It's only 30% useful, but if I have the flu and all I have is a little tickle, I'll take it. RFK Jr., don't get the flu shot. I don't want you to. I got it. No, I didn't get. I got it. I had the. Anyway, let me leave you with this, guy, since I have my sound effects now. Which one do I want to pick? Here's a good one.
That China has total respect for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's very, very large brain.
Donald's very large brain. And let's end it because it's always a circus, 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 live at a time. That's how we get through this. We chunk through this, guys. If I have any more lives over the weekend, they'll kind of be just whenever I can squeeze them in. If not, I'll see everybody on Substack on Monday at Xenocracy, xenocracy.news. Please subscribe on Monday at about, I think it's going to be about 10:30 because my course program starts. I'm so sorry that I have to change the time. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to end this with the circus music because I just think that is appropriate for the political moment we're in. I love you guys.
We're going to win so much, you may... so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more. We're going to win so much.
Thank you, guys. On that pleasant note, I'll see you all soon. TikTok is out. Okay. And Substack, YouTube, thank you. I love you guys.